So the first segment I want to get to tonight has to do with something that I like to call the cast of characters you meet in your everyday life. And when I was a kid, actually, my dad coined this idea. The concept kind of stuck with me throughout my whole life, the cast of characters. Your life is a TV show. You have your own, let's get to this metaphor. You have your own theme song, credits, and your best friends and your parents and siblings and boyfriend, girlfriend, they're in the opening sequence. But just like a TV series, people come and go. Unfortunately, you're stuck with family. They're entrenched. They're like the stud A-list actor that nobody likes, but brings the name recognition, so they got to keep him in for the viewership. That's your family. Friends and relationships will come and go. So let me pose this question for you. How do we decide who gets to stay as a main player on our TV show? Who gets to be at the head of our cast of characters? One of my closest friends and we always talk about this metaphor. And the way we frame it is your life is broken into chapters of a book. Chapter 1 is, the formative years, grade school. Chapter 2, maybe that's high school. Chapter 3 is college. Chapter 4 is your first job or grad school. And each chapter you meet different people. You have different friend groups. Maybe you have different relationships, different acquaintances. And you get to decide when a chapter ends, when you leave a job, when you finish college, when you quit, when you graduate from high school. You get to decide who in that chapter you want to drag into the next phase of your life. But how do we decide who moves on to the next phase and who gets to stay with you? I'm sure you've all experienced meeting someone amazing who you have so much in common with, who you'd be amazing friends with, but for some reason or another, you lost touch with them. Maybe you were in different chapters of your life, right? Timing, everyone talks about how important timing is. That's going to be a theme of this pod. Timing is everything. And by the way, I want to emphasize, this is not meant to be romantic. This, the overriding concept here, it's platonic. I'm mostly talking about the continuity in friendships in the cast of characters in your life. So again, how do you decide who moves on to this next phase? And everyone's answer is different. In my opinion, I think number one, convenience is a huge issue. If you guys live near each other permanently, you're probably going to be friends for a long time, right? But this isn't always true. Most of my best friends don't even live near me in New York. And despite the distance, despite the fact that we're, hundreds of miles apart, we've managed to persevere, thanks in large part, Will, to technology. But also because we both put effort in. And so that leads me to number two, guys, a willingness for both people to put in effort. And this is something I hear from people all the time with their friendships. People say, oh, I'm always initiating, and so never texts me or call me or initiates the conversation. Listen, a friendship where you're always reaching out 100% of the time is destined to fail, right? It's exhausting to always be the one, to look at your calendar and be like, oh, it's a month since I talked to, so-and-so, time to reach out, right? You need some sort of reassurance that the other person has a desire to be friends with you and that you're not, the annoying dead weight from high school that just won't go away. And that's how some people feel in those types of relationships. On a personal note, I had a friendship in high school that when we finished high school, felt like I was putting in 100% of the effort. If you look at the text message conversations, there was a lot of blue for me and not a whole lot of gray. And the other person wasn't putting in, more than 0, 1, 2, 3, 4%. And it failed because, it's like if you're hanging on the edge of a cliff, with your hands, as opposed to, right, you're hanging on the edge of a cliff, guys, eventually you're going to get tired. You need someone to pull you up. And I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, but the other person has to show that they care. So convenience, a willingness for both people to put in effort. The other thing that will determine if someone stays in this cast of characters and moves from chapter to chapter in your life is, number three, in my opinion, a strong base of shared history. And this is why I believe most people find their best friends, and a lot of the time their future wives or husbands in college, just because you're spending 4 years together every day, living alone in your own little world in a dorm or, having every meal together in a dining hall. Those memories will last a lifetime. And I would venture to guess that if you kind of, considered your cast of characters, having that strong base of memories to pull on would be a huge attribute as well. Just because not only do you have the common ground, but if there's a lull in conversation, there's always memories you can draw back on. There's always things that will make you laugh, things that if you're fighting will bring you guys back together. Hey, you remember that that one time that you did that stupid thing, and just having that base ties you to the other person, for better or for worse. So just kind of take a moment to consider all the people you've met in your life, your own cast of characters. Who is in your title credits? Why are they there? Do they belong there? Should they be demoted to recurring status, right? Not featured in every episode? And if there's someone that you lost touch with, someone that, you guys watch TV shows, it's like, oh, I want to see more of that guy. Whatever happened to that guy that played the dorky forensic scientist? We don't see him anymore in, CSI or LAPD episodes. If they're not there anymore and there's someone you lost touch with, reach out. No one wants to be the first to reach out because they're afraid of showing they care. And, that's 2019. It's cool to be callous, right? It reminds me of the iron law of friendships and relationships. This is very dark, but this is poignant and very accurate in my opinion. The power lies with whoever cares less, right? Because if you care more, you have more to lose. And there's also the whole basis, the law of attraction, how we want what we can't have, we want the unattainable. That's a whole other conversation. But just the fact that it's cool to be callous applies not only to romantic relationships, but to friendships. You should try to defy that, right? Don't be ashamed to show someone that you care. Be the first person to reach out. It is so easy today with technology, again, to send someone a message or, take it to the next level. Write them a letter. I saw a tweet the other day. I would attribute it, but I don't remember who it was from. But if you know someone's address that you haven't spoken to in a while, why don't you go on Amazon and mail them a book just to let them know you were thinking about them? It can be something, something cheap. It doesn't have to be hardcover, first edition. It can just be like a book on proverbs or quotes or jokes and sayings. Hell, they might never read it, but the gesture itself will mean the world to them. That's not only kindness, but that's longevity in friendship. And, I urge you to kind of consider that, to kind of consider each chapter of your life thus far, who the cast of characters have been, the minor players and the major players, who's made it to, the next round. I think about this all the time with my friends. When I was growing up, I kind of had a lot of different friend groups, and it was only in college that I found my lifelong friends, my base, created that strong base of shared history that's going to carry me through hopefully the rest of my life. So takeaway there is definitely ponder the people you've connected with and how you personally decide who sticks around and who will stick around. Because in my opinion, when we talk about the meaning, the purpose of life, and that'll be a theme throughout Nervous Habits, it's really all about the connections you make, the relationships you form. Places are transient. It's the people that allow you to form lasting memories. Right? For those How I Met Your Mother friends out there, what did Barney say in the last episode? It's like, no matter what you do in life, it's only legendary if your friends are there to see it.